What's up, you guys? We are back with another episode of the DISHIN podcast. It's been a minute.
Yes, sir. We talked about Zegras' Greyson campaign. We also got these custom suits from our boys over at Hop and Notch Custom out of Montreal. So thank you guys for sending these over to us. Some crazy details throughout the whole thing.
Episode 26, live now. All right, welcome back to another episode of the DISHIN podcast. 26.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Episode 26. Rasmus Dahlin.
Thomas Vanek.
Love
Nice.
What else we got?
I don't know if I have another 26. Those are the two engraved in my head. Paul Stastny.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Was he 26?
I think so.
All right, let's count it.
Or 28. Either of those. I think it was 26 though.
We'll fact check that.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're back.
Let's go.
It's been a minute. Way too long.
Yeah, we say that every time, but we've been grinding. We got to make sure that we have enough content to talk about when we jump on here.
That's right. Yeah. Like we said in the past, we don't like to just come on here and chit chat. Like we like to talk about things that are going on with the brand, going on in our lives, and everything in between. So it's been a busy couple months. Why don't we rewind it a little bit? Y'all boys went to Wish Cup. Me and Derek. This was like the first trip we missed out on, and God knows how long with all you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah, Wish Cup was sick. Yeah, we missed you guys, but it was really cool. Really fun experience. My first time being there, and I know we talked in the past few years about going there and making it out to Nashville. So, yeah, just this year felt right. Got hooked up with Kobe, who puts on an unbelievable event, and yeah, we planned the whole thing out, and we had a table set up. We sold a lot of bubbles, dude. Kids were loving the bubbles, man. I know we made a lot of content of all the kids coming up to the table and everything, but yeah, just seeing all those kids, like one kid would come up, and then it was just a chain reaction from there. So many kids were like, "Where'd you get that?" And then next thing you know, there's just 20 kids at the table just all huddled around looking at everything and just seeing all different colors and models that we had. And, I think for a lot of these kids, it's something product they'd never seen before, and kind of just go back to this a lot. But just, when we were 10, 11, 12, just going to different hockey tournaments and stuff and just seeing what different product was on display, I think it was pretty cool for those kids. And those are the type of experiences that I want to bring to kids that love the game like we do.
Hell yeah. And for those that don't know about Wish Cup, can you kind of give like a brief little background on Wish Cup? Because I know they do a roller tournament, and then they also do an ice tournament, I saw. So
yeah, so we went to the roller tournament, and it was an outdoor facility, I think in Hendersonville, somewhere in Tennessee, not too far from Nashville. So yeah, this was a week-long roller tournament. So we went out there, and they had a lot of different divisions, all the way down to 6U, all the way up to pro. So we went out there, and we had a table set up. But for me and for the rest of the boys that went, I think it was the first time we were at a big roller hockey tournament like that. So, some of these kids are just unbelievable, the way they can skate and handle the puck and everything. But yeah, Make-A-Wish is the foundation for Wish Cup, and Colby and his team do a great job. Having different kids along for the event. There were a lot of different brands and companies that we work with pretty closely that had different booths set up and whatnot. And yeah, just a bunch of different creators and influencers from Nasher to Swaggy to Pavel. All these guys that were there had an influencer game, True Crew, on the last night. So really dope to see a lot of familiar faces that we've seen around the rinks and different events over the past couple of years here. And yeah, first time going to Wish Cup, so it was an unbelievable experience.
Great city for that too. Nashville, especially you guys went at the end of May, so that's a really good time to go to Nashville.
Yeah, it was fun. The weather was great. It was really hot. Boys went to Broadway a couple days and got loose. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, I wish you guys were there, but it was we had a good little group and had a good time.
I know, I was getting FOMO seeing all the Shopify notifications come up too. I was like, damn. And then seeing all the Instagram stories and stuff, and seeing everybody that was there. I mean, Lucas and Chase were also there too, I saw, which was cool. Saw some of those guys signing autographs too, which was pretty sweet. Look, those guys can play roller.
Yeah, they're sick, dude. I don't know if it's pro or what, but they can move. It's just, and like I was saying before, some of these kids that are like 6, 8 years old, they just are unbelievable skaters, the way that they can move the puck. And I think a lot of these kids are so intelligent now, just understanding that roller is so much different than ice, where you go down a rush, you got nothing, you can just throw it all the way back. You throw it back to the goalie, and like for a kid that's 7 years old to understand that is pretty cool. And I think it really translates really well to the ice game too. So I don't know, just as a viewer kind of watching the whole tournament, that was pretty cool to see.
were you getting a little bit of FOMO not playing, or were you just kind of like so mesmerized of all like the sick roller skaters that were there?
I don't know. I'm sure they had like a mid lower pro division, but every game that we watched was like so fast and high paced and high energy. So I don't know. It would have been dope to play in like whether it was like the influencer game or whatever else we did. But yeah, I was just for the first time being there, I was just cool with watching it.
How would you compare it to like what we play in here at home?
It was fast. It was pretty quick, and you know, they utilized the goalie a lot more, I think, possession wise. It was a little different playing like under a canopy too, being outside. So I think you know, elements can play into factor a little bit, whether it's wind or rain. I think there was a rain delay one day, but yeah, I think it was mostly pretty comparable to roller back home. And I think the more that we play and are around the game, we just start to realize how much of a different strategy it overall really is. So yeah, that was cool.
It really is, because like we played ice like a day or two after I got home, and we always say this, especially you and I, and even Ben too, is like your ice hockey legs are so much more different than your roller hockey legs. And like the roller, I feel like we get more tired in roller sometimes. You wouldn't think that than we do ice, but I feel like also too, ice, you definitely you sweat in both, but roller hockey specifically, you're in a much warmer environment, whereas ice, you know, you're sweating, but you're in a cold environment, so it's easy to kind of cool down a little bit.
Yeah, but I've always compared roller to soccer a little bit. You have longer stretches where you're on the ice, you're kind of going skating the whole time back and forth a little bit, whereas ice is more quick little spurts. You're up and down and you're off usually, but yeah, roller is a little bit more of a long form game, possession wise, and just kind of overall strategic. It's a little bit more like chess, I think. So.
And those pro guys were taking longer shifts too.
Yeah, they only had a couple. Yeah, because it's a remote tournament, so like you're not really bringing like a lot of subs or reserves. So yeah, short benches, maybe two or three guys on a bench max, and guys are taking pretty long shifts. Yeah.
Damn. And you're guaranteed probably what 3-4 games in that tournament too. So like,
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
It's a long weekend.
Yep. Yeah, it was cool. I wish I could remember some of the team names on there, but yeah, the Wish Cup had a team. I think CCM had a team with like Lucas and those guys. The Nuts were a team I saw. They had like a lot of different teams all the way up from pro all the way down to a 6U, and then a guy that I play in Florida with, the Buttery Roller team. They've got like 6 or 7 teams across the country that they go to different tournaments with. So yeah, a lot of familiar faces.
It's cool. It's cool that roller, I mean, ice too is a very tight-knit community, but like the roller community seems like they kind of have its own community too, which is pretty sick. And I feel like you're starting to really get in there between the Miha tournaments you play in, and then also like going out into Florida and other areas. So
yeah, there's a lot of creativity in roller that you don't really compare to ice, just between the sublimated jersey designs, the pants they wear, all the wheels, the wheel colors, different kinds of skates. Like those Mission inhalers are like pure white. And yeah, there's just a lot of different equipment and accessories, I think, that make the game really colorful and pop. So I really enjoy that. And I know Jared made a point to me a couple of times in the weekend that that was the first time he's really seen roller live in action, and he noticed all that too. And, you know, just the creative elements, the design that kind of goes in the whole thing was, you know, really eye-popping when you compare it to ice and stuff that we've been around our whole life.
Also, shout out to Jared for making that sick Colored Bubbles recap video. That was sick.
Yeah.
He was sending me videos of him working on that, and that came out pretty sick.
Yep. Yeah, shout out to all the boys, man. They're grinding at the table and really helping. Those were long days. I think 10 or 12-hour days just kind of sitting there baking in the sun. So we were grinding, and we didn't have a car, and you know, we got there, need to get a table right away, so we chucked it over to Walmart, got a table, ran back, and 43 Degree boys, they make like a heated hockey bag to like kill bacteria and stuff. It's pretty cool. They're based out of Colorado. We're talking to them quite a bit, and they gave us a ride over to Walmart, and we're hooking us up with some nice stuff. So yeah, I want to give a shout out to them. And then Rob Butt Ends was right next to us. So yeah, like I said, a lot of familiar faces. And then also met a kid that I kind of talked to online for a little bit now, is Tanner Mortensen, who's a Warrior athlete and does a lot of creative content on the stick handling and just overall lifestyle side of things. So I want to say it was great meeting him, and you know, got to see some of the stuff that he's been working on with Warrior lately, and really excited about that and some of the new developments that Warrior has, such as the skate coming out and just everything they're doing on the creative side of things. So, yeah, I think more to come with them and more to come with Tanner and a lot of the same names that we've been working with already within the hockey community.
Hell yeah. Derek, how you feeling over there?
Not too bad. Just catching up to see what we got on our rundown here. We're at 11 minutes right now, so Cup final. Move on to that.
Yeah. What'd you guys think of that? Rematch.
Quite the series, but it was clearly Florida's year. Definitely seemed like last year Edmonton was a little bit more stacked and more prepared, I felt. Just felt like Florida just had their number from start to finish. I mean, Edmonton put up a good fight, but you can't beat depth, unfortunately. And when you got Brad Marchand putting up, 6 goals in the finals, it's kind of hard to beat. So it was a good run. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how Florida tries to maintain all of their guys there, because someone's going to have to go as much as they all want to stay. So
I think if you would have said last year that there was going to be a repeat of the finals, I think some people might have rolled their eyes. But I think as the playoffs played out and kind of rolled through, I think everybody was there for a rematch. And just, there are a lot of different names and faces on Florida this year, I think, with losing Montour and a couple key pieces. But I think McDavid is always the draw of just getting up for that match. And he's just unbelievable to watch. You pair him up with Leon and, some interesting comments that he had after the series at the end of the year that we'll have to keep tabs on. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it and was watching every game start to finish.
Yeah, it was fun hockey. I think there's a big difference too between this year and last year. Like, obviously, Derek, you touched on the depth that Florida had this year and bringing in all these guys. I mean, Marchand, just huge pickup for them. And then also too, like last year, I think Leon was hurt during the final. I think he only had like 1 goal last year, and this year he like really picked it up. So it was cool. Like it was great seeing. I mean, we got 3 overtimes out of that series too. I think last year too was a little bit different because Florida could have ended it after 3 games at any point in the series, and it went all the way. It went the distance. I thought it was going to go to the distance for a second, but I think just, again, Derek, you brought it up. You said it earlier, like the depth that Florida has. Like, they were such a fun hockey team to watch throughout playoffs too. If a guy was hurt or injured, whatever, there was another guy right in line to step up and do exactly what he needed to do. A guy that I really liked watching throughout the entire playoffs, and then also this specific series, was AJ Greer. I thought he was a guy that was a big role player, stepped up when he needed to. Aside from guys like Marchand and even Bennett too. Like, Bennett was a fun player to watch throughout the playoffs, and especially again this series too.
Well, I was just gonna bring up AJ's name because, like, I mean, that just shows the depth. Like, he didn't even play some of the games, and then he comes off, from healthy scratch and is an immediate impact. Like, it just shows how deep they are. One guy goes down and they've got another to step up. And something we didn't even talk about is like Barkov playing with a sliced hand the whole series. Yeah. Like, that's crazy. Like, insane that he was even able to make it through that. I mean, it was like through his whole palm. Like, it wasn't like us, on the side of his hand. It was like a very significant part that you need to play hockey with. So.
And also too, Sam Reinhart, he was another one who got injured in the Eastern Conference Finals. I remember they weren't sure if what his return was going to look like for the finals, and he's another guy that, dude, I think he had like 4 goals in Game 6 for the clinching game. Unreal. And like these goals weren't just like fluke goals. Like, he scored a highlight reel goal for that his first one in that Game 6. And
if anything, the empty netter was like the least one. Impressive. And it still was a good empty netter. Like, it sealed the deal, and he had to work for it. It wasn't like he just tapped it in. Like, he kind of got lucky, honestly, on the bounce. It bounced off 2 Edmonton players and ended up going in. So.
Yeah. And another key goal that Sam Reinhart had, if you guys remember, I think it was Game 4, the tying goal. He scored that goal to tie that game up, and then obviously Leon ends it with a fluke goal in overtime. But again, like, these guys are playing through so many injuries. Like, you talked about the Barkov and then Sam Reinhart, and it's just crazy to see how these guys can, what they're willing to do to win, and especially having all that depth. I mean, I was lucky enough to cover 2 Eastern Conference final games, and just, you know, kind of going through those 2 games and just seeing, oh damn, like Sam Reinhart's not playing now. He's a key player, and then he comes in the finals, and I mean, really steps up and plays really well, and that's just a great group of hockey players right there. I think we were blessed, I think, to really be able to watch them. And I know a lot of people wanted to see McDavid and the Oilers win a cup, especially for that Oilers fan base, because they are diehard for that team. But I think they'll be back. I think they'll be back in the running, and, you know, they're still young and a lot of hockey left. I'm excited to see what they can do next year.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear Maurice talk about their team too, because he just talks about how close-knit they are and just how much they play for each other. And he always talks about how Bart starts at Barkov and it trickles down. So, I'm really keen on hearing stuff like that. And then, when they first lifted the cup and then Barkov and they passed it off to guys that have never won it before, I thought that was really special. And because everybody's talking about how Marchand was going to get it first. And, yeah, to see them honor those guys that, it was their first experience, I thought was pretty special. And, what a cool thing for those guys that, are experiencing it for the first time. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool. How would you compare covering the finals this year as to last year?
I think one of the big differences last year was, like, everything last year was so uncertain because Florida could have ended it, right after those first 3 games. So, going into every game not knowing what was going to happen and, like, knowing if, like, we're all going home after this if Florida wins. Whereas, like, this year we knew where we were going, which was nice. Like, everyone knew, okay, now the series is tied. Now we're going to 5 games. So also another difference, like, this year compared to last year, was goaltending. I don't think Edmonton changed goaltenders last year and this year. I mean, they pulled Skinner out and put Picard in for game 5, which I thought was a very odd shakeup.
And pulled Skinner mid-game at one point too. So
yeah. And granted, that backup did what he had to do to win them a hockey game. But I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything that, like, really stuck out to me. One of the things was definitely knowing, where we were going. I think these, like, both teams had some time to really prep, whereas, Edmonton last year after game 3, their backs are against the wall. Like, it's do or die every game. Mm-hmm. Whereas this year it was like, okay, so what? We go and we lose one of these games, so whatever. We're going to go back home and we have a chance to win at home and we got home ice advantage, whatever.
I feel like Edmonton being at home, being the home team to start off with, definitely changed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Helped them out a bunch. But yeah, I guess other than that, what was, like, probably your favorite moment that you captured, or a moment that was behind the scenes, or something that happened, that stuck out to you, I guess, from this trip, whether it's travel-wise or something that happened during the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. There was, like, so many little moments that happened. Trying to think of one that was just... I always think of, like, the travel, because the travel is just so long. Like, it's one thing for people who aren't playing the game or just traveling back and forth to work the game, but, like, I can only imagine how these guys are doing this, going back and forth, Florida, Edmonton to Florida, etc. I think maybe one thing that kind of stuck out to me was when Marshy won it in overtime. Mm-hmm. Like, that was, like, when he scored, like, he had already scored a breakaway goal too in that same game. And I think after he scored that, I kind of, like, my jaw kind of dropped. And I'm like, oh shit, like, this team better watch out for Marchand, because this guy is flying right now. So I think that was cool to see, something that really stuck out to me, and just keeping an eye on him. I think he, like you said, he had like 6 goals or something throughout that finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously McDavid, just the second game with that crazy move, with the 2 crazy moves on the pass to Draisaitl, like, that was unreal too.
Yeah, that clip was so sick. You got, dude, just that angle and everything was so good. It's so cool to, like, see a clip like that just go nuclear, and just on every outlet.
Yeah,
it just explodes everywhere. And I love another piece of content you got that was really cool was that Kachuk shot, that photo of him.
Oh yeah.
with the smoking the cigar, and it looked like he was probably holding the cigar, but it looked like a number 2. So
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw him pull the cigar out, I was kind of waiting for. I was trying to, because obviously they went back to back, so I was kind of like looking for a moment to capture where he was either had the 2s up, something. Juan actually said it to me. He was like, "Dude, you aura farmed the shit out of that photo," which I kind of was in a way. Like I was trying to capture a moment that it wasn't just like him with a cigar. Like I was trying to get him to either maybe he was dancing and he had like the back to back or the 2s up, whatever, but. Luckily, just snapped a couple photos, and he was like in the middle of like trying to grab a cigar with like the 2 fingers. So I forgot about that.
It's on a T-shirt.
yeah,
It's on a T-shirt. Like
actually,
crazy.
yeah. I'd say like that was probably the coolest moment.
Yeah,
Was capturing that photo. That photo goes out, and then the next day seeing it on a T-shirt, like that was
and
pretty
then
wild.
on Barkov at the parade.
Yeah, you see it everywhere. It's like tangible, physical product in real life, but also I love like the captions that everybody has. It's like photo of the year,
Yeah.
like timeless classic, just like all these different huge outlets that are just have their own scope and taking everything, and they're taking that in their own hands to write that sort of caption. So that's pretty cool.
I bet you.
Yeah.
I bet you it ends up framed in his house.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that
there's
or it'll probably be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
that would
cool.
be nuts. I didn't even think of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really like this year, especially. I was telling Troy this too. I really tried to capture things with intention, whereas last year I just kind of let my camera roll during the celebration. But this year, when, obviously having the chance to be on the ice for the celebration, but also go in the locker room, like just really trying to find special moments and not just letting the camera roll or spraying photos just to spray photos. There was I actually got a lot of better stuff trying to look for things like that. Like I had Marchand's first interaction with his mother, which was very, very cool. Special moment for him, obviously winning his second cup, sees his mom for the first time. I was one of the only ones that grabbed that hug from our team, which was nice. So that was special. And I guess to go back to your question, I had my mom and aunt took a vacation to Florida.
Yeah, this is great.
And they had a vacation booked in Fort Lauderdale months prior to even knowing that if the finals were going to be in Florida or not. We happened to be there on the same days, so I got to spend a whole off day with my mom and aunt, which was so cool. Like that was awesome. And then I surprised them with 2 tickets to Game 3, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, just because she worked her and my aunt both, like credit to them, like they worked so hard to raise myself and my cousins, growing up, and to have my mom especially be able to be at a Stanley Cup final game with me in the building. And that was just so special, her spending all those years, trying to get me to the rink and bringing me to Sabres games and stuff. It was just a really, really cool moment and something I'll never forget. I think I actually, like, to answer your question, Derek, earlier, I think that was probably the coolest moment for me personally from that whole experience. Like, not even the ice, not even going to the locker room, just having my mom there and aunt was a pretty cool full circle moment for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's great, dude. I think your mom said it best on Facebook with what she wrote. I think she wrote something along the lines of spending mostly all of her adult life and since you were born, just like being at different hockey rinks and stuff, and for you to be able to return the favor to her and on the biggest stage when you work for the league is, I think, one of the coolest things. So
yeah,
kudos to you for that, man. And that was really dope. And the fact that you're just in Florida and get to spend the whole thing with her is really special. So
it was
awesome.
It was really cool. It's definitely something that gives me goosebumps. And on top of that, it was a sick game for Florida, and they got to see DJ Khaled. Like, come on, her and my aunt were both loving that. So she sent me a video, like a 5-minute video of DJ Khaled's performance too. I get an iCloud link, and I'm like, come on, like enjoy the show. But they had fun, so
that's awesome.
But yeah, did you guys see Trevor Zegras in the Greyson campaign?
I did see that. They had a lot of cool imagery and photos that they did. What was it, like on the tennis courts? And did they do a golf one too?
It was a golf one. Yeah, there's a lot of lifestyle stuff. I think
one
one was by a pool.
Trevor Zegras, friend of the brand, recently did a campaign with Greyson, pretty well-known tennis golf company. Not sure where they're based, but
Detroit.
Detroit? Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, they've done some Red Wing stuff before, so that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, I love a player like this that's able to step outside his comfort zone, I think, a little bit and do a little bit of brand work with a clothing company like this. And yeah, some of the imagery was just really sick. Some different lifestyle shots on the tennis court and golf course, and I think those are the best type of marketing moments that just feel natural and authentic, and that definitely did. I think he's the perfect ambassador for a brand like that. And, we were lucky enough to have him in the shop here over the past season. And, have started to do some stuff with him recently with his shoulder check for suicide awareness foundation that he does alongside Chris Kreider. And, yeah, just a great dude that we've got to meet. And, yeah, some of these photos are iconic. Just him teeing one up at probably what looks like his home course and in the Team USA jersey. They're calling the whole campaign Off Season.
That's sick.
Mm-hmm.
That is sick. And Matt, you said something earlier, like for those that don't know what Greyson is, like what would you compare this brand to?
I think they're like a sporty Lulu. I think they're comparable to Travis Matthew. A dope golf brand. Yeah, they're doing some pretty formal casual wear merchandise and stuff, but it's more of a a preppier kind of simplistic minimalism brand that's pretty nice.
So I have a friend in Detroit that works for Greyson, and my buddy's girlfriend, and she does a lot of their like lookbook stuff. I'm not gonna say the name here, but she does a lot of like their lookbook stuff. And I was asking him just about that campaign and some stuff, and he said they're doing, like his girlfriend was telling him, they're doing a lot of different things. Like they'll make clothing that's more like subtle, somewhat like more low key, but then they also have stuff that's pretty loud and like on the shirt, like very kind of in your face. And then there's like that also subtle side. So there's two different lanes that they're kind of in, which is cool. And I think that's super dope for someone to have, or for them to have someone like Zegras. And they've had other athletes too that have done campaigns for them, but just it's cool that they have options for people, and it's not just like all very loud merch. It's you can wear this out to dinner, or you can wear this on the course and look swaggy too. So
yeah, it was a great campaign. I love all the imagery, even the one of just him with the tennis court, him on the tennis court with the racket and wearing his blades on the golf cart, just kind of looking through the rangefinder.
A lot of good details, honestly.
Yeah, the Gatorade bottle says margarita on it. Yeah, it's all good stuff. It's really cool. I think as the game starts to get younger, more guys are coming into the league with marketing deals, kind of open to doing more stuff like that. I think Zegras is the perfect guy for stuff like this. Someone that's already very marketable, just a great skill player, just really embodies the way that he plays on the ice, kind of his off-ice personality and what he does on social and creativity and stuff. So, yeah, I think he's the perfect athlete for stuff like this, and we're already starting to see guys like Bedard and other guys that are younger, other guys that are going to break into the league pretty soon, like Schaefer and Landon Dupont and some other guys that are going to be all over this type of stuff and, working with different brands. I think there's going to be an opportunity for guys to start to do more brand work, such as what we've seen with Matthews and Logan Paul and his Prime drink and stuff that's more kind of on the cusp of everyday consumer products that guys that are, and teenagers, kids that are involved in everyday pop culture and stuff that are buying that sort of product and kind of infusing that into hockey more. I think as the game starts to grow, and we've talked about this before with it being in just such a great position with coming off 4 Nations and just overall growth of the game and stuff. So it'll be cool to see how that progresses.
While we're on this topic too, which players in the NHL could you see walking in like a Paris Fashion Week or like New York Fashion Week?
I'll start off with one strong candidate. I could see David Pastrnak. I feel like he's got just like between the style of his casual clothing and then also his really elevated like formal fits that he does game day. I feel like he can wear a lot, and I feel like he would do really well at like a fashion week type of deal.
I think he'd be a great one. Yeah, he's a guy that definitely has some range. He wears a lot of like floral suits and stuff, but he also, I think, can keep it pretty classy. And we've seen him like pull out of hats and stuff. And yeah, we've seen a lot of guys like across the NBA and NFL, like Kyle Kuzma and who else has walked? Like Carmelo Anthony, some other guys that are just already walking in fashion shows and stuff. So, yeah, I think Eric Carlson would be a dope one. There's some obvious ones on the Maple Leafs like Nylander and Matthews. But I think it's just some younger guys too, like Zegras, like Line. I think would be a dope one. Guys that are kind of more low key underground in the fashion scene in the hockey world.
I feel like Philip Forsberg would be another great one too.
Mm-hmm.
He's always got like the hats, and he's got a good fit usually going on. Real low key one, and Nick can attest to this one. We'll give him his flowers on this. Jason Zucker had a fit for. I don't think he ever repeated a fit for, walk-in, and they were always very nice suits. So like I feel like he's a guy that has some style to him, even though like when you hear the name you wouldn't think of it. It's just, but he clearly cares about what his game day looks like.
Can confirm Jason Zucker knows how to dress.
Veteran.
Yeah, he's been around for a minute, but I just would love to see his suit closet, because like I don't think I saw him repeat suits like all season.
Yeah, and it's not just like the suit. Like he gets all the way down to the shoes. Like
Always
something different.
Some sick jackets too at some points during the winter and too. So it's like he's got a good collection for sure. So
yeah, that's what's up. That's cool.
Yeah, Line would be a really
Should we
sick one.
flash the suits while we're talking about
Yeah,
suits?
speaking of suits,
yeah, we're on the topic. I mean,
might as well.
Got a little show and tell piece this week brought to you by Top and Notch out of Montreal. Eli came to the Igloo when we were in Montreal for Hockey House, and we were going back and forth on some different ideas of what we could do to, kind of collaborate together. And Eli and his team put together some custom suits for us. So he sent us a list of about 25 or 30 measurements he needed on our entire bodies, from our shoulders to neck all the way down to our ankles and our feet. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, me and Nick went to a tailor and got some measurements, and I think they went through our first measurements and they were like, oh, well, that's good. But I think Eli needed like 10 or 15 more. So
Yeah, we're like sending him photos of us with like a large T-shirt on, and like showing him like our backs and stuff. So
yeah,
these came out really sick though. I mean, it was cool seeing them like mocked up.
Open them up. The insides are where it's at.
Yeah, and the pants are really dope too. They have the yellow lining on the inside.
Wow, I didn't even see this.
Yeah, the yellow lining,
Smiley.
the smiley, that's got a nice D on the inside of it. There's some great details in there.
Yeah, throughout the whole thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
These are so nice. The Top and Notch logo on there too.
And the material, obviously you can only see it, but the material is really nice too. Like it's good. You guys are gonna have to do an episode in those.
Yeah, I think
Be
we
like
should.
Dale and Brennan from Step Brothers.
So funny story about these two. They were gonna rush make these for us for Ryan Miller's catwalk, and Matt and I were gonna wear them for the catwalk, but I think they really tried to get these done for us in that time frame, but I think it was just we kind of gave them a very impossible time frame, because like when they brought up the idea about doing suits, we're like, oh, like we have this fashion show that we're gonna be a part of, and yeah, it just didn't.
I'm sure it
was
won't
kind
be
of unrealistic.
It's not going to
but-
be the last fashion show that you guys could wear those to. So
Yeah, that's true. More news to come on that, by the way. I know you were talking about that. A little bit.
Yeah. More to come with Buffalo Fashion Week. Yep. So
sweet.
yeah, and a lot of people have seen this company before. They do. So this company, Top and Notch, made Arbor Zach Guy's FU pinstripe suit. Then I'm sure a lot of people have seen.
Yeah, I think it was opening game for them that he wore that. So
Yep. So yeah, thank you to Eli and his team for putting these together for us, and yeah, can't wait to see where these show up, and love the details on both of them. They came out so sick, and just a classic piece to have in the closet, and nice go-to suit.
Yeah, love it. Thanks, boys.
Episode 26 of the DISHIN podcast, sponsored by Best Damn Tape. I want to give a shout out to Best Damn Tape. We've worked with them with Logan and his team for quite a bit now, just on different tape essentials. They have tape, wax, some different stuff for your twig that you need. And great company based out of Columbus. And check them out at bestdamntape.com. They've got an unbelievable lineup of different accessories on there. They've worked with a lot of different companies across the entire hockey world, all the way from pro, all the way to youth and amateur, a lot of colleges and junior teams in between. So, yeah, Best Damn Tape. Check them out. You guys will love their product. They have a lot of different stuff, not only like the thinner tape itself, but also the thick stuff too that we also like to use for our sticks. So, yeah, thank you to Best Damn Tape for sending us some product over, and make sure you guys go check them out.
Sweet. And yeah, that kind of caps us off here for the first episode back. This is the summer of DISHIN. I'm going to say it now. We have a lot of guests that are kind of on the books and ready to go for this summer. So off season is always a little bit tricky for us when it comes to, content, events, things like that. So we are working very hard on getting a lot of different guests on the show, and we're super excited about it. I think we already have one lined up and another 2 kind of in the vault, kind of just waiting on a date from them. So we're stoked, and we're back, and it's good to be home.
Yes, sir. Good to have you home, man.
Let's go. Episode 26.
Cheers.
Good shit.